You're a smart guy.
I don't know about that.
You just said you've got Allah bless you with logic. So you're
all of us. Maybe some more than others.
Right.
You know,
and would you say you have more than others?
I have basic elements of logic.
All right.
Like yourself and everyone else.
So if you don't have logic, then I can educate you.
No problem. Right. I'm here to be educated.
Because I don't want to sidetrack, but the whole problem is, for example, if Muhammad has to be a prophet, then there has to be a criteria for him to be to identify him as a prophet. This is why the Quran mentions the previous text. That's why it says Jesus named Ahmed, even though we never find any document within the.
It's in the Injeel.
The Injeel.
The Injeel.
Where's the Injeel?
It was destroyed in 70 AD when they killed over 1 million people in Jerusalem.
So do we have any historians who refer to this Injeel?
Yeah.
Like who?
Sahih Bukhari has got
Sahih Bukhari.
Sahih Bukhari, yeah.
How long after Christ did Sahih Bukhari live?
Sahih Bukhari is getting his information from the golden chain that goes back through Ahmad ibn Hanbal to Imam Shafi'i, Imam Malik, Imam Abu Hanifa, and then Imam Jafir,
so
and then obviously Prophet's family.
So that's circular reasoning.
Family and companions.
So I've just said to you, the text refers to establish a pride.
Hey, you called me a pagan, man.
No, don't divert, Obi, because this is why I'm going to pin you down.
Don't do that again.
Because you just use circular logic, circular reasoning. I've just said to validate your prophet, he had to refer to the Injeel and to the Torah to say that you can verify me because information about me was written even before I existed. You've just said, well, because the prophet claimed that there was an Injeel, therefore that validates his prophethood. That's circular reasoning. But I'm saying the reason why people had the criteria beforehand, and even with Jesus, and this is why Christians went to the Old Testament, is because we have many people that claim they were a Messiah. Many false prophets, many people with claims to divinity or divine expression. For example, the magicians in your Quran who went up against Moses.
Okay.
Right? So we would say that...
Well, they specifically didn't claim to be God. But
no. But I'm saying their powers...
Pharaoh did claim to be God.
No problem. But I'm saying the magic, whether you believe it was illusions or real magic, is relevant. But to the point
we believe in evil forces as well.
Right. So the point would be they would be able to express abilities beyond your average human being.
Okay.
Or metaphysical. The reason why they believed Moses is because he could turn his staff to a snake,
among other things.
So could they.
Split the sea.
So from your layman, at first seeing that, you would not know who's God's more powerful. They can just do the same thing.
Right.
The whole purpose of Moses' snake eating their snake was to demonstrate to the people that the power behind him was greater than what they could. So their snake couldn't beat his. So that's why people would have accepted.
Right.
Moses as a messenger.
Bring it full circle now.
Right.
Bring it full circle.
So I'm saying for a Christian to establish that Jesus was a valid person and not just someone claiming to be something he's not, if there is that written in the text before he comes, they know he doesn't have a time machine to insert.
Of course.
Right.
It's a fulfillment of prophecy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I'm saying that's why I said what you were saying about your prophet is circular, because I've asked you based on logic,
I have to say,
no problem. Based on logic or historical evidence, do we have any evidence of anyone within the first 300 years actually when did Muhammad come? 7th century. So in 600 years, do we have any evidence of Christians, Jews, Romans, whatever you want, making reference to a document called the Injeel?
Again, so remember, my argument is the following. I'll give you my theory, of course, because it is just a theory.
Yeah, but I'm just asking you.
I'm speculating.
I'm just trying to logically.
I'll show you my logical chain of reasoning here, okay? So we have the destruction of the temple 70 AD.
Right.
Prior to that, I would assert, because the Quran says so, I would assert there was a, and by the way, even historians would say there are many multitudes of different Christian groups asserting various things about Christ. Right? Many different things. It's not a monolith, and you obviously would agree with me. It's not a monolith. Okay? No problem. So, one of these groups, I would say, is what we would refer to as Ahl Injeel. Right. Okay. These people, when there was the Jewish rebellion, were trapped in Jerusalem, like the rest of the million Jews that were there. Right. They were surrounded by the Roman Empire, with all of their works and their temple and their writings and their oral tradition. All of it would have been wiped out by the Romans. Okay. The ones that would have escaped, a lot of Jews escaped, by the way, because there was another rebellion in Bar Kokhba. You know about Bar Kokhba? Yeah. So there was another rebellion, and they were destroyed as well. Right. Historians tell us many Jews and others escaped, and by the way, other Christians as well. Right. Remember, again, in the Arabian Peninsula, when we get to the 6th century, Christianity is not a monolith by any means. Right. Many people escaped to the Arabian Peninsula because they know that Rome cannot penetrate the Arabian Peninsula. Okay. They tried. Now. And they failed. Wait, let me land. Right. I'm almost there, I promise, okay? Now, when Muhammad Sallallahu receives revelation in the cave, you love the story, I know. When he receives revelation in the cave, he runs back to who? Who does he run back to? To his uncle, Khadija. Khadija. Right. Okay. And who does Khadija go and get to affirm what he said? Her uncle. What's his name? Waraka bin Nawfal. That's it. Yeah. Waraka bin Nawfal. Right. Okay. Waraka bin Nawfal. Right. He is, well, there's not many. They call him an historian Christian. An historian? That's what they call him. That's what they call him. Okay. For lack of a better noma. So let me just... wait, almost. Okay. So I believe, here's what I believe, and this is what even our Islamic tradition says. Okay. Waraka bin Nawfal says in the hadith, Allah allowed him to remember what he could about the Injeel. Okay. Because Waraka bin Nawfal comes from a line of Ahl Injeel who sought refuge in the Arabian Peninsula. Again, what I'm saying to you is... There's even problems in those hadiths. No problem. What I'm saying to you is speculation, but it's based on the evidence that I have access to. Okay? And even historians, if they heard what I had to say, they would say, yes, okay, you have no definitive evidence of what you said, but it does track based on what we know of history. Okay, no, it doesn't. Now, tell me why. So let me just start at the end. So, Waraka bin Nawfal, how did he know Jibril was the angel? How did he know? He's the one who made the claim, right? So probably based on all the things that had happened in the cave, based on what was said, based on what was written in the scripture that we no longer have access to. So he got his knowledge from a document that Allah allowed him to remember somehow. This is circular. I'm saying, let's use logic. I'm not. Yeah, but you can't use Allah to validate it. I'm saying let's look at the facts. So you have Muhammad, who was attacked by a deity in the cave. A deity. An entity. Right. So yeah, an entity. Now he goes to his uncle. Yeah, it was an angel. Who he's validating that testimony to understand that was Jibril. So what text do we have to understand that Angel Jibril, when he visits people, he squeezes them, he attacks them, he makes them feel in a certain way? What was his cry? What was the text that he used to validate that? So now you want me to go back to the Old Testament? I don't believe it. I'm saying if he's validate. No, listen to my point. There's an Injeel that you can't falsify. So you can't falsify the Injeel. Just like how I apparently can't falsify why Peter failed to mention the resurrection to Mark. But I'm saying logically, what you're saying is that somehow in the destruction of the temple, the Koch bar, when the Jews were kicked out, somehow some went to Rome, but the true Christians that had the real text went to Arabia. Yes. Then when we want to validate that even though no one has made a claim so that there was an Injil, so I'm making two points here, because one, we don't have the document, the Injil itself. Neither do we have a historical claim from anyone that there was a document called the Injil. Well, we don't have the first century New Testament either. But do we have a claim that exists? Huh? Do we have a claim that exists? You don't believe there was a New Testament in the first century? I'm asking you. Do we have a claim? So we don't have the manuscript, right? Right. So how do you know it existed? But do Christians claim?
did Christians claim that there was a New Testament documents?
According to the New Testament that we don't believe in, yeah.
Passed from the apostles down to the.
Yeah, but
he's got a bit of an argument. He's got a little bit of an argument. He's a Greek Orthodox.
Yeah, but
he's
that's
got a bit of an argument.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Even outside the text, even from
but you don't believe in his tradition.
No, but I'm saying
origin lists the canon.
Yeah, but I'm saying from a historical perspective, I can accept the like origin and all the early church fathers.
Interesting.
Of course,
but you don't accept what they say about Mary.
I'm saying no, but listen to what I'm saying. I
thought you said don't pick and choose.
I said, is there a historical claim
to what?
Whether there was an Injil, not even whether it's true or not. So you're saying he's making a claim, appealing to the church fathers.
Yeah.
I've not even said whether I have to believe it or not. I'm saying there was a claim.
Yeah.
We can look into
I'm saying there's a claim as well.
I'm saying
there's a claim that Bukhari has got this information from someone that Waraq bin Nawfal said
that Bukhari got this information that goes back to his prophet.
Yes.
So that's circular. I'm saying, do we, before your prophet, have any Christians or Jews or Romans or any Arabs or anyone that claims that there was a document called the Injil? Or is there any reference?
You've got to be fair and say there isn't one.
No, 1 second. Because it just goes back to my theory.
Because I'm asking
It goes back to my theory.
Yeah, but he agrees there wasn't one, but
right.
he's saying why.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. So no problem. Wait.
Remember what I said though. What is Josie? Wait. Because you're failing to understand a big part of my argument here.
Okay.
How many people died? What was the scale of the destruction of Jerusalem? Tell me the scale.
What
does Josephus say?
I can't remember.
1 million.
No problem.
You know the number million, right? You know how much that is 2,000 years ago, right?
Massive.
Right.
Josephus says 1 million.
Okay.
That for me paints a picture of the scale of the destruction the Romans incurred upon Jerusalem.
Okay.
That's, for me, I don't know about you guys. For me, it paints a picture. I would never expect for a massive community of Ahl Injil to have escaped from there.
So all I'm pointing out is that your appreciation of Waraq bin Nawfal's understanding is based on pure blind faith.
No,
because I'm asking you, what is the historical evidence to support that he had a reference to a document that allowed him to distinguish that Jibril was an actual angel? Because remember, he didn't go, he just described the experience, and it was this person who didn't even see the angel. Because I would find it strange if I said to you, Angel Gabriel's over there in the park. Yeah. Would you stay here or would you go and have a look? If I said Angel Gabriel's right,
go and have a look.
So a Christian man is not even going to inspect.
He's an old man though. Going up a mountain.
I would think as a Christian man, you would want to inquire more about this so-called.
A 90-year-old Christian man was going up a mountain. The biggest mountain in Mecca.
Look,
they probably got Toyota cars.
If someone said that the angel was there, it doesn't make a difference. People would go. But back to my point is your argument then relies not on logic but on pure blind faith, because it would seem odd to most people that, for example, the Injil. What is the cognate for Injil?
It's a Greek word. First was a Greek word.
Evangelion.
Yeah? Right. Evangelion. But you also made the argument that we can't trust the Septuagint because it was written in a Hebrew text.
Yeah. No, Greek.
Yeah, the Torah, was written in Greek.
Yeah,
was in Hebrew.
Yeah,
no, the Septuagint's in Greek.
Yeah, I know.
No, he meant the Torah.
Yeah, the Torah. Sorry, I correct myself. So I'm saying it would seem odd that Allah, who created it in Hebrew, would refer. Because actually, let me fast forward. The Injil was revealed in what language? You believe it was written in Greek? Aramaic. Yeah. So we're saying Allah has labeled an Aramaic text in Greek.
What's the cognate in Aramaic?
What's the cognate?
For Injil in Aramaic.
The cognate for
Injil
in Aramaic?
Yeah.
Bethora. Bethora, good news. It's in your Quran as well. Bethora.
Remember, when Allah's revealing the Quran, He's revealing it in the Arabic language.
Yeah.
The Arabic language. He's selected a language that obviously at that stage has now been perfected.
Right. So
Allah sees it. Allah sees it fit to now reveal His final testament in this language. That may be an amalgam of many different languages.
That's what I would find
why
strange.
Use a Greek word
exactly.
Injil?
Let me just present the argument.
Go on.
Because in Hebrew, because there's and Arabic are sister languages.
Yes.
So we actually have basically the same word in Arabic and Hebrews. It's Bethora.
I'll have to fact check that.
I'll show it to you after this. But it would seem strange that Allah goes from the direct translation, or the direct, whatever you want. I don't know what the word is. Not like replacement, but the exact translation. Obviously not translation, but the direct equivalent, I should say, in Arabic, to then refer to a Greek book from a Greek cognate, even though Jesus spoke Arabic and Aramaic, sorry.
Because remember, Allah is revealing in a reality that we live in.
Please,
so how are people will understand what Injil means if it says Injil? But they're not going to understand Bethorah because not many people speak Aramaic even at that time.
If the true Jews and the Christians,
the true Ahl Injil,
went to Arabia for protection, wouldn't they have been more familiar with the Aramaic version?
But remember, Waraka bin Nawfal is one of the final of Ahl Injil. He's one. Remember what I said to you? 1 million people died. Right. It wasn't a massive community that made it out. In fact, Waraka bin Nawfal, he became Ahl Injil. Right. So he learned it probably from one of the last. And
these are all assumptions, right?
That's what I said. I made that disclaimer at the beginning.
No problem. I'm just highlighting because
you're asking me.
Yeah, no problem. I'm no problem. Yeah. But because this started off, for example, questioning Peter, why didn't he do this? So I'm just testing the water with your logic to see how you reason.
That's a bit different. This is your resurrection.
No, I know, but all I'm saying.
I don't want to be rude interrupting, but the Injil, the New Testament.
Yes.
What original language is it written in? What's the oldest manuscripts? What language is it in?
Greek.
Right, because you keep talking about being Aramaic.
That's what he believes.
Papias said it was in Hebrew.
But that's what he believes. So I'm questioning his logic of how come we get these historical claims and every answer is Belakaif. Everything we don't know.
Not everything. I'm giving you an answer.
But I'm saying in the historical context.
Yeah, I'm giving it to you.
Yeah, but you're basing it on assumptions. I'm asking you.
And so do you.
I'm saying, do we have?
As well.
No, I
can't give you everything.
But I'm saying we don't have any
I'm not
claims.
Omniscient.
Yeah, but I'm saying for these documents called the Injee, which was so important, we don't have any community within 600 years making reference to it.
And
all we have to do is
refer is an example of that.
Which that was in the Hadith.
Yes.
That came even later. So
no. But the tradition goes all the way back. And by the way, do you know who's?
My question is, how can we verify?
Who's mentioned the Hadith?
They verify by Isnad.
Who?
It's not the Prophet ﷺ. Prophet ﷺ told it to someone.
Right.
Aisha.
Okay.
Aisha has heard of this story.
Right.
Others in the community have heard of this story.
So how does that? Right. But
they know now, and everybody knows in Mecca, in that community, there is a man named Waraka bin Nawfal, and he was a Christian, for lack of a better term, okay? And he did have something called an Injil, and in that Injil, he wrote what Allah allowed him to remember of it. That's a hadith, and this is what the community believed and understood. There's no evidence of people going against that hadith in the Qurayshi tradition, is there?
That's a good point. Because they use Isnad.
That's right.
That doesn't mean anything.
Line of transmission.
If I went
like the Greek Orthodox.
If I went to a Shia, a Shia would
you
have disagreement in terms of a lot of the hadith.
Shia 5%.
It doesn't matter. That's a fallacy in itself.
Like Orthodox are like 50%.
Historians disagree with.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter.
Then what happens?
Exactly.
Because in terms of what I'm trying to say is in terms of the Shia these are people who believe their traditions go, and they aren't like a new sect. With the Nestorians, for example, that was just an interpretation of Jesus' divinity, for example.
So were there any other traditions other than the Orthodox Christians then? Weren't there other traditions that sprouted as well?
Many.
Minor traditions sprouted?
Yeah, of course. Even in
so it's the same
but there's a difference.
I like Greek Orthodox because they can think outside the box.
No, there's a difference because even if we go into the New Testament itself, it talks about heretics arising.
Yeah.
So I'm not disputing that there were people.
Does it talk like that in the Quran that they're heretics?
About heretics?
Yeah, about the Quran.
Yeah.
So now we can
speak about heretics. Yeah.
My
especially
point,
during that time.
So what's your argument? Because the Quran does the same.
My point was referring more to Waraka bin Nawfal and his verification that Jibreel was the one. Because remember, the prophethood is based on accepting whether this visitation was from a jinn or was it from God.
Yeah.
And I'm saying then, what is the verification? Because we were talking about Christ, and I said the reason he was disputing, for example, why Jews believe Jesus was the Messiah. And I said, don't believe their twisting of the scripture. Because if Jesus isn't the Messiah, then that debunks Christianity.
So how do you know
Islam? So I'm saying
I don't need to take it wholeheartedly, though.
Yeah, but
I don't need to accept the entirety of what they say.
Yeah, but I'm trying to give you an understanding of why my logic is greater than your logic. Because what I'm trying to say is this: if we have a God, and that's why I started from Moses, if people can perform miracles, and from a distance, no one knows who's from God, who's not. But if you have Moses' staff eating the staff of the people in Egypt, it shows that the power behind him is greater than theirs. Because you would question yourself, how come their states couldn't defeat his?
Now come full circle.
Right. So I'm saying, when you read the Old Testament, it's a continuation of this story. For example,
but I don't believe that.
No problem. I'm saying, as you brought up your rationale of how the Jews got to Arabia, and you said that makes sense. So I'm just saying
it all makes sense,
right? So this is for the people who can decide which. I'm just giving a bit of background which makes sense. So all I'm saying is now.
Can we backtrack a bit? Because I want to go back to the resurrection.
No,
you were showing me resurrection in the Old Testament.
Let me finish, and you will do that as well.
Let me finish. So all I'm saying is,
we've been here a long time talking about this.
No problem. All I'm saying is,
are we being timed?
All I'm saying is, when you read the story of the Old Testament, it's a continuation of that story.
Why? Tell me why. You tell me why. Now you speak and tell me why.
Because revelation.
Tell me why. I want to hear why.
Why? So the reason why is because God is trying to because God is trying to show the people of earth that it's fulfilled in Christ. However, he's had to take a people and demonstrate to the people around them, their enemies, that he is the God behind them. That's why, for example, you have the story of David versus Goliath.
Okay.
People saw a small child, but the only reason why he was able to defeat Goliath is because God was behind him.
God was with him.
Right. You had the same with the story of Elijah, that he had to call down fire from heaven against a false prophet. So you see a lot of stories over and over again where prophets have to go against the people, and then people realize once their prophets cannot defeat Yahweh, that this Yahweh, there's a power behind this God Yahweh.
Right.
It even gets to a point in the book of, I think, Jeremiah, where you have false prophets who are claiming the name of Yahweh as well, where God then has to give the true prophets real revelation and the false prophets false revelation.
Right.
Because
and he lies, right? He lies.
Yeah. So you don't
have a problem with God lying, right?
No, he didn't lie. He said
he didn't lie.
He said a deceiving spirit. That's different.
so
now, no. And what is a lie? A lie is you have to do it yourself.
Okay.
A
so
deceiving
he didn't send
spirit.
a lie. He sent someone to lie for the purpose. His intention was for that person to be deceived.
But if God controls all things, as you would agree,
no problem. Look, I don't even mind if God deceived.
So what's the point? What's the point? What's the point?
It's your problem, not mine.
So my point is, when we go forward, the Christians use the Old Testament to validate Christ. That was the evidence.
All the evidence you've given, I didn't hear a thing about Christ.
No problem.
You'll give me examples of David and Jeremiah and God giving them power. And where's Christ?
Because this is my thing. So this is where the prophecies come.
Just hear 'em.
Because if, for example, David beats Goliath and people believe that God is behind him, if he gives him a prophecy about in the Psalms that Jesus quotes on the cross,
how will be crucified,
right?
how
So then people will believe that David is of God,
because the smaller force defeated the bigger force.
For whatever reason,
prophecies come true.
Exactly.
That's why we know that.
Let me get to my point. So my point is, each point, God is putting down a marker for the Jewish people to believe in. First, it was Moses. So if Moses prophesied something, when they go to the book, they know Moses was from God. When David prophesies something, they know David was from God. So there's a continuation that keeps referring
prophecies.
And progressive revelation.
I'm still waiting for them.
When you get to the point of Christ, for example, Christ was accused of being possessed by demons by the Pharisees. The people believed in Christ because they could refer, and as Paul said, even with the Jews of Thessaloniki, he had to refer to the scripture the same way your prophet was trying to do, to say, if you believe this is from God, how can these prophecies be fulfilled in this person? This is an indication that this person is from God.
Yeah.
So when we get to your prophet, I'm saying the basis of your faith is Muhammad said, for example, it was in the Injee. Can we find the Injee? So these confirmations of what we would say is from God have disappeared into the air. So we don't actually have any criteria. He's saying there is a criteria, whereas the Christian criteria is the Old Testament.
There's no prophecies for the prophet of his revelation.
So I'm saying, so when the prophet is coming making claims, we should be able to verify for ourselves. His claim is, well, Allah told Muhammad, and it's in Bukhari, who references Muhammad. That's a circular argument.
Do you know what supersession is?
Please answer that point.
Do you know what supersession is?
Explain to me what it is.
So in theology, you study theology. Supersessionism is this idea that is replacement theology.
Okay.
Right? You know replacement theology. It's the easier word for people.
But do you understand my...
I understand.
Not only that, there's also the miracles and the many other things.
Yeah, but that's how you validate a
Here's what
prophet.
I would come back with. I would say, because of supersessionism, this idea that whoever wrote the New Testament, Paul and his ilk, if they take a writing, right, and they look at the Old Testament and they desperately try to find Christ in every crook and nanny in that book, for me, that's not evidence. Anybody can do that. Anyone can say, oh yeah, it says pierced hands and feet. That's Christ.
No problem.
Oh, it says the mighty God. Oh no, but that's Hezekiah. No, it's God.
No problem. So this is my question to you. How do Jews in the first century validate that Jesus Christ is who he says he is?
How do they validate?
Yes.
Because he failed, they knew he wasn't the one, because he failed every prophecy according to the Old Testament.
So are you saying Jesus isn't the Messiah?
I don't believe in the Old Testament.
So you're not answering my question. I said, how would Jews in the first century validate Jesus is the Messiah?
According to their corrupted scripture, according to their corrupted scripture, he would have needed to have brought world peace. So it's clear. There's no second coming.
Asking you. There's no second from the Islamic perspective.
You're not answering.
No, you don't want Islamic perspective.
I'm asking you. Yes, I am.
Why?
Because I'm asking you. If someone claims to be a prophet, no, but listen to what I'm saying, because this is the crux of my argument.
No, the crux is this, right? Just wait. Let me land one more time.
Okay,
you spoke a lot. One thing, and then you speak. Okay. My problem is this. If forget Quran and Muhammad Sallallahu, forget all that for now. Let's park that. Right. The problem is, if your Messiah does not comport with the Old Testament Messiah, then the entire thing collapses, and nothing
that's
can
fine.
be taken. Nothing can be taken.
That's fine. I don't have a disagreement with that.
Right.
So
why did the eyewitnesses die martyrs and believe that Jesus was the Messiah?
This goes back to my question. Why did the
people
first
die for lies? This is what communists died for lies.
This goes back to my question. Why did the first century Jews believe Jesus was the Messiah? Whether they were Muslims or whatever, why would they have accepted Jesus? What was the criteria for them to believe that Jesus was who he claimed to be? Because you're saying
Tanakh.
So, but do we have that Tanakh?
We don't.
Oh, that's gone missing as well.
Yeah, we don't. Not in its entirety.
So the Injeel has gone missing.
No, not the Injeel in its entirety, basically. In its entirety.
Right, and the Tanakh?
The Tanakh, the only thing I would say that might be a little bit veracious, and even Tabari says this, by the way, is the 5 books of Moses. And even that's corrupted. Tahrif. So Tahrif is everywhere.
So even though the Quran says no one can change the words of Allah,
this is different.
So, what?
Because this is in reference to the Quran. Allah's giving
only
the
Quran.
Allah only gave the promise to the Quran.
Okay.
He never gave the promise. And by the way, when it says that, another caveat to that. Okay. When it says that, Allah's talking about what He has willed. Remember, we believe in Qadr, right? You know Qadr, right?
Yeah.
Predestination.
Okay. Yeah.
So we believe whatever Allah has written, whatever He has preordained, no one can change it. That's what He means by the word of Allah.
Okay.
So it's twofold.
Right. So now, if you're saying the Tanakh was corrupted, the Injeel was corrupted, if me and you lived in the 2nd century, how do we know who's a true or false prophet? What's our criteria? If all the text from God is corrupted, because I would have assumed, just logically thinking, that God has to preserve his word, so people like you and me in the 2nd century don't get led astray.
Yeah. And they had holy tradition. They had holy tradition. Then they had the Isnam passing to the disciples, eyewitnesses, apostles, pass on to the bishops and the early church fathers. It all passed that tradition. So how can that all be corrupted? It was all a community. It wasn't 5 people or something. That's it. It was a whole community all talking about these things. Eyewitnesses there, and it was passed on.
I don't believe
it. And they saw. It's not like a Muslim martyr. They saw and they died for what they saw. That resurrection.
I know, but let's see what.
I would say the following.
It's best to say I don't know.
No, I don't know.
But that's mean you're wrong.
Bill Kaif is always his answer.
No, I haven't used Bill Kaif once.
But that's what essentially you're saying.
No,
I don't know.
Just because the Quran says it was corrupted.
Where is the original Torah? He doesn't know. Where is the Injeel? He doesn't know.
So what do you want me to answer?
That's fine. It doesn't mean he's wrong. He's not an encyclopedia. We don't know. Everybody doesn't know everything. There's things you won't know. It doesn't mean you're wrong. There's things he might not know.
But I'm saying his whole belief rests upon these assumptions these arguments where there's no evidence of anything.
Yeah, I can see that the Bible's been corrupted.
Okay.
No, hang on.
No, but you said that he said no because you said the Torah was corrupted.
I'll get excited.
So you're going to elaborate how you know the corruption from non-corruption.
Yeah, because it says it in the Quran, the corrupted. But really,
it doesn't say it in the Quran.
It doesn't even say it in the Quran.
Yeah,
that's the problem.
Tarif, from all your early scholars, that's why you have the hadith where they said the Jews put their hands on to cover the words, they corrupted it, and Tarif, the early understanding was Tarif was they twist the meaning, but they couldn't twist the text.
Who told you that's it?
Because
Ibn Hazm doesn't say that.
Ibn Hazm
is very, very early. He's an Umayyad. He's as early as you get.
He was in
Al-Andalus. He's an Umayyad.
Yeah. How many years? 200 years?
Ibn Hazm was about 200 years.
Okay, so it took 200 years for someone to realize that.
No, you gotta remember Paperboy.
Right.
The Arabian Peninsula, right? We didn't have parchment and papyrus. It wasn't readily available. That's why our Quran, the first Quran, wasn't written on. It was written on what? You know.
Right. But
wait. What was it written on?
What? The early.
No,
you're not even listening to our
book binding was when the Quran came.
No. Sorry, I didn't
Before that, there was no book binding.
But it wasn't in the Arabian Peninsula. That's the difference. That's why, as we move out of the Arabian Peninsula, I know this is a touchy subject now to the Greek. They don't like this because we get there was fighting and we fought the Greeks.
Yeah, but to the point.
Yeah, anyway.
We got to wrap up soon.
Fine. So we get to Al-Andalus.
Right.
In Al-Andalus, we flourish.
Right.
Now all of our writings can be preserved properly.
Now, but there's a disagreement.
That's not to say, by the way, Ibn Hazm was the first person to say this.
No, but there's
his teacher said this.
Yeah, but there's Al-Tabari, I believe. I can find out who said.
Somebody said the 5 books of Moses we can maybe accept veracity.
And
from
what did
but not the rest of Tanakh.
What did so left Al-Tabari said the 5 books. What did Ibn what's it, who you said?
Ibn Hazm says.
What did he say?
He
can't
says
trust any.
Throughout.
Right. So now you have 2 scholars who are disagreeing, and these are some of their prominent scholars.
But you have early church fathers that disagree. Come on.
Yeah, but he's trying to make a claim that
because you guys are open-minded.
Yeah,
man.
but this is why Christians reject that understand it. His point actually goes against the validity of some of the early church fathers because there's so much disagreement. So if your revelation or understanding is from God, unless it's human understanding, there's going to be disagreement. This is why people sometimes reject church tradition, just the same way like Jews have their rabbis and they say this is from Moses, but how can all the rabbis contradict each other if this is all from God? So it clearly demonstrates that it's man's interpretation.
In my opinion, I apologize. I'm sorry because that's why you have to have the early church and the tradition to preserve the true teaching.
Right.
Consensus.
Yeah,
right. But consensus is of man.
From the community.
That's what I'm saying. But I have no problem with
Allah created man. He created this reality.
What I'm saying.
He created this reality.
I don't have no problem with the consensus.
Yeah.
But it's
that's why you need 2-3 witnesses before you do anything in the Bible.
But that's why I said I can get the quote from your early scholars. I'll get their name. Who said that it meant the corruption of the verbally, not the actual text.
There's ikhtilaf.
Right.
But the bottom line is there is tahrif. Even in the Quran, it's mentioned Surah Baqarah. You know the verse.
What does it say?
Woe to those who change the scriptures with their own hands for a minor price.
Which scriptures? So when your prophet, when your prophet had the Torah and he said, "I believe in thee," what was he?
Now you look at Sunan Abu Dawud,
right?
And you look at a very specific case here.
Okay.
When he's there,
right?
By the way, you mentioned it.
Okay.
You said they're covering up. You told me the story already. Yeah,
right.
That's the same.
So was that a corrupted Torah?
No. Wait. They asked the prophet what? Why did they come to the prophet in the beginning?
About a judgment.
On what?
Stoning or something.
Good.
Like that.
Rajam. Right.
Yeah.
Stoning.
Right.
What did Prophet ﷺ say? He said, "Why are you coming to me for this?
Mm-hmm.
You have the answer right there." The law. Remember the 5 books of Moses, the Torah, where it talks about the stoning.
Was it completely corrupted or not?
The part that he's pointing to is.
Oh, so okay.
So this is the problem.
How do we know that? How do we know that?
Yeah,
How do we know that?
Okay.
Because it's in the Quran as well.
Okay.
It's in our
so
tradition.
This is more, but that's what I'm saying. This is exactly all his argument, and this is what I want the audience to understand.
It's always going to go back, even the New Testament.
because he appealed to Tacitus, to Josephus, people outside of the text. Maybe he can question them.
Oh, yeah.
Fair enough, but he can't even appeal to one person. So we're supposed to believe
justify the very book that it's been questioned,
and the basis
that book.
and the criteria for accepting Muhammad as a prophet we have to use circular argument. At least for Christians, we will say we can go to the Old Testament. He can challenge it and say, well, what is your interpretation?
You don't have to look at the
interpretation. It's obvious it's not talking about
no problem.
Well, you don't have to look at the facts. Daniel said when he's going to be born, how it's going to be born, where it's going to be born.
No problem. But all I want,
Isaiah,
this is what I want people to understand. And that's why I said our logic is greater than his logic, because his is circular. We at least peel into previous texts.
Not circle.
We're not saying
it goes back to the Quran.
Exactly,
you always going back to the Quran.
Exactly. And
put
in
the Quran, put the Quran away. Put the Bible away.
So the question is, for Obi,
we both have
for Obi, the history of his religion is based on thin air. Because if I ask, of course it is.
In your opinion.
For example,
I'll
give you an example. If you believe Abraham went to the well of Zamzam, do we have any historical writings from the Arabs themselves who confirm this story in the form of folklore?
Yes, we have pre-Islamic literature. That's
called what? Let's.
I don't know, you have to look for. I don't know the names. Even the names are very difficult for me to pronounce because they're like old Arabic weird names.
I'm saying we don't have
it's
any.
It's like Abu Lutlu or something. It's something. It's like.
Okay, next. This is what I'll do next time.
But before that, I'll give you evidence right now.
Okay.
Let me give you evidence right now.
All right.
How do we know? Get ready. How do we know that the Arabs came from Ishmael and that Abraham was probably with them as well?
We don't.
I'm going to tell you right now why we do.
Go on.
Testing.
Before.
Because he's going to bust himself, because I will show him.
Don't say. Let him say first.
Let me say it first.
All right.
The Arabs are the ones going to cover his tracks.
Go on.
The Arabs,
right?
Before they even became Muslim,
right?
They had a tradition about them.
Right.
They were among the only people in the world. Right. No one else did this, by the way, prior to this, other than the Jews.
Right.
The only people who circumcised their males. Where did they get this tradition from?
Did
thin air?
No. Did the Egyptians? The
Egyptians got it from the Israelites.
Okay.
The Egyptians got it from the Israelites.
Are you sure?
Yes.
Okay.
In the Middle Kingdom, I've studied this. In the Middle, well, I'm Egyptian, by the way. Right? I'm Egyptian. So,
actually. He's going to destroy himself because I'll let you finish.
In the Middle Kingdom, that's when they started this practice. Because remember, even according to the Bible, who was around in the Middle Kingdom? The tribes of Jacob, right? Jacob was there, his brothers, they all moved to Egypt and they were all there in the Middle Kingdom. And so the Egyptians at first, Hyksos, they liked them. But then when the later dynasty came, then they became slaves, they didn't like them, they called them treacherous.
When did Abraham come?
Exactly. He's just destroyed it because Abraham performed circumcision. So how was that?
Well, he could claim it was from that time.
Yeah.
And Abraham was a Muslim.
That's right. Yeah. Ishmael.
He said it from the Israelites.
No, you're wrong to say the Egyptians. He took it from Abraham.
No, we get it. No, I didn't say we get it. He mentioned Egypt. He mentioned Egypt.
All right.
I'm saying we got it from Ishmael. Because who was the first person to be circumcised under the covenant? Other than Abraham.
Adam.
No. Under the covenant, who's the first person to be circumcised? Other than Abraham.
Under the covenant?
Yes. Ishmael!
Yeah.
Ishmael's the first person to be circumcised. And where did the Arabs come from?
Wait. Now, let's analyze his claim. Where his evidence?
I need to go, Paperboy. I need to go.
Okay.
I'm actually very late.
His argument was that his argument.
No.
So now you answer.
So now,
all I'm going to say is next time Obi's here.
You got Arsenal now.
Yeah. I don't know what the time is.
Okay.
So all I'm going to say, Obi.
So what? I mean, I got it. So what?
So Obi, his appeal is that because Arabs circumcised themselves, this is evidence that they are descendants of Ishmael.
It's an evidence.
No, it's not.
Evidence. Well, there might be descendants.
So I'm saying
to him, Semite people.
I'm saying I would find it odd.
He doesn't like
that. I'm saying I would find it odd.
He doesn't believe
that we don't have, and I'm saying it as a fact, and next time he's here, I'll ask him for the evidence. And I'm saying, standing on what I'm saying now, we do not have any historical evidence that Arabs claimed before the 7th century themselves to be the descendants of Ishmael.
But who are the descendants of Ishmael? Aren't they Semite people?
You have Bedouin Arabs, you have various types of Arabs. So we're saying who we don't know exactly. For example, his prophet, we do not have any lineage before he existed to claim that he descended from Ishmael, even when
because it's
even,
thousands of
years.
years. Nobody's
even
have a lineage like that.
But let me just finish. Even when
Even Jesus have a lineage.
Even Ishaq and your early historians try to correlate the lineage of your prophet, and they all contradicted one another, and they only go back to Saleh.
Just like Luke and Matthew.
Wait. They only go
just
back.
like Luke and Matthew.
They only go back to Saleh, and even when you look at them, they do not even go back to the time of Abraham. And they're very problematic.
Whereas in the Bible, they've got genealogies. They show the genealogies of Mary and Jesus.
So
David and Abraham.
So all I'm saying
is they're both Joseph.
So next, if I speak to you again, Obi.
Yes.
No, they do give
what I
genealogy
will
of
say.
Mary.
Just have a brief.
They both say Joseph. They both say Joseph.
All I'm going to say is have a look.
Don't take
and
my
I'm
word
going
for
to
it.
say, from the Arabs themselves, there is no historical claims from themselves.
We can examine that
because
further.
we know there are inscriptions in Arabia, sometimes with the crucifix, the cross, and we know
in Arabia.
Yes.
Not in Arabia of the cross. No. Not Arabia.
Yes.
You have to look at. I think you're talking about the Nabatean kingdom. Maybe in the Nabatea, yes, but not in deep Arabia.
Yeah, because
maybe northern.
I don't know what part exactly.
Yeah,
but within the peninsula of Arabia, there are inscriptions.
That's the furthest the Romans could ever get.
Yeah, but it
wasn't
wasn't just Nabatea. It wasn't just that.
I'm not saying it was just that, but it wasn't further south.
Well, I don't know how south it goes.
Yeah. Have a look. I can tell you it's not.
And even, for example, because your prophet was from Yemen region, right? And even they claim that there's their lineage. I've got it, but next time I speak to you. But all I'm saying is, when we look at the culture of the Arabians, there is no claims within, and we don't find any historical claims before the 7th century that they were descendants of Ishmael. It's when the Quran and his prophet revealed it, somehow it becomes ingrained.
I think circumcision says it all.
That's not evidence. So the thing is,
it would be anthropological. It would be anthropological evidence.
It would seem strange, and I'm not denying there would probably be some proportion of Ishmaelites.
This was a very
what I'm trying to say,
I
would find it very strange as an Egyptian, for example. You can go to the pyramids, and you can see the hieroglyphs about what the Egyptians wrote about their own people, right? So I would find it odd that the Jews have, for example, the Torah to claim that this is their own story. We go to Arabia, and again, Ober's favorite Bilakai, we don't have any evidence from the Arabs themselves, because they have to go to the Torah, they have to go to the Jewish book to confirm their own history, and I would find it odd. Exactly.
Remember, the Arabs for the longest time did not even have a script.
I'm saying even folklore.
You couldn't expect. Well, they had folklore.
But even when you had
I'll bring you the evidence from folklore.
Right.
I'll bring you the evidence.
All right.
All right.
No problem.
By the way, you didn't elucidate on the Isaiah 53 and how that talks about Jesus.
Yeah, next time. No, because we mentioned the.
Are you on TikTok, by the way?
No, I don't have any social media.
Should you get on TikTok? We're gonna have proper debates on TikTok, properly.
Yeah, I normally just try.
He's not here to debate and be a show. He's here to genuine
debate with everyone. What do you mean?
Yeah, I'm here to debate.
Good. Okay, there you go.
Live, but I just don't use social media that much.
The Muslim faith, what we have is, they say the Injils are corrupt, the Old Testament's corrupt, yet they've got stories from both.
Exactly.
But when you say, well, how can you prove it's been corrupt? There's no proof.
Exactly. That's my point.
End of. Why don't you just say that, bro?
The Quran
because we have to
circular. The Quran's got no proof.
Exactly.
All it
to
does
validate
is claim it.
It's circular reasoning.
We have other
the Quran validates
if I'm an alien, I come down. Jesus was crucified, they say. Thousands died, martyrs' death.
Wait,
650 years later,
not even that. Jesus' apostles, according to Islam, disappeared. Because what happened was, they knew what happened to Jesus. Yeah. Paul came along with a counter story. And even though the people of the village or Jerusalem knew that Paul was a charlatan and that the disciples were with Jesus, they believed Paul. They ignored the apostles.
There's a lot of things.
Okay.
So then we come now, the Quran.
Let me respond.
Not even the Quran.
1 second.
Islam is a
and yet,
let me respond to this.
And yet we don't know what happened on the day of crucifixion, even though Jesus carried the cross.
You've been crucified.
Paperboy wants it.
Exactly.
Let him respond. Let him respond. We're good guys.
I'll let you close off.
Let me close off.
So
what we would say, why that's the case, is because, remember, it goes back to the first argument I gave when speaking to you. The destruction of Jerusalem.
Okay.
The destruction of Jerusalem.
That's not nothing
One
to do with
second,
it.
I'll tell you why it does. The people who I'm talking about, Ahl Injeel, I'm telling you, my belief, and even the Quran says they were in Jerusalem.
Of course.
In Jerusalem. Okay? Paul, according to your New Testament, he did not convince the Jewish people of Christ. Paul convinced the Gentiles, the Greeks, the Romans, people who did not have access to the Old Testament, people who could not fact check him. That's who he had. His churches were not in Jerusalem. He was vehemently opposed.
So what happened at the Council of Jerusalem?
Well, he had to lie and he had to offer a burnt sacrifice, even though Jesus died for his sins.
How do you know?
Well, because he believes Jesus is the final sacrifice.
So Paul,
why is he giving a burnt offering then?
Did Paul meet the apostles?
Say again?
Did Paul meet the
and that makes him even more treacherous.
Did he know Mark? Did he know Mark?
Say again?
Did he know Mark?
No, Mark is before.
1 minute.
Well, actually, is he? Yeah, he probably would know Mark.
So he was an eyewitness to the eyewitnesses.
Yeah. I
1 minute, he was an eyewitness. Number two.
We don't believe it's eyewitness.
When did destruction of Jerusalem happen?
70 AD.
70 AD. So, look, he didn't even mention such a massive event in any of the epistles, nor did the Gospels. That tells me how close to the time these things were written, or where eyewitnesses were still around.
Or conversely, they didn't mention it in order to make people think that they were early when actually they're really not.
And then
because he's trying to go back in time to rewrite what's actually taking place and give credence to his belief.
So the real apostles, because you keep appealing to destruction of the temple 70 AD. Christ died when?
Christ died, according to you,
the crucifixion.
30.
Right. So you're telling me, or when Christ lived, let's just say around 30 AD, whether you believe he's crucified or not.
Yeah.
So you're saying
I don't even know when he was born.
So
was it 2 or was it before BC or
no? Doesn't matter.
Is it the Gospel of Luke, the Gospel of Matthew?
Let's just go from 0 AD.
Well, I mean they conflict, so I don't know.
What you're trying to say, for 70 years, the disciples, because were spreading the true message. Then somehow these charlatans came, and then it caught off like a flick.
You got to remember,
right?
With Paul, his message spread like wildfire.
So why didn't they believe the disciples, the true Muslim disciples?
Because the people where he set up the churches didn't have any access to the disciples. He didn't have any access. Remember, there's a 20-year window between Paul preaching and the destruction of the temple.
So they had the Injeel, which they were going around. Obviously, must have been spreading the Injeel, the gospel of the Injeel.
The Injeel's only for the Jews.
Right.
So the Jews are disagreeing with Paul, and they're disagreeing with Ahl Injeel.
So when we look at Jewish historical
because
texts,
they don't like both of our narratives.
So when we see the historical aspect, whether it's the Talmud, Jewish story, do we have any confirmation?
Talmud said Jesus was stoned and dragged around Jerusalem.
Yeah, but I'm saying that's why I keep asking you: is there any allusion?
In Talmud now?
No, I'm saying: is there any allusion to these Muslim disciples that you keep speaking about, who are somehow operating?
We have. They're mentioned in some of the works of the early church fathers, but remember, those works are polemical works.
Okay.
So obviously they're going to be biased. Right. You know, I can give you one.
I think that's a lot of cognitive dissonance you're displaying over OV.
But it is polemical work, so they're talking about the enemies of their narrative. Obviously, it's polemical.
So who were the
cognitive dissonance? Is just 1, 2, 3.
Who was the Christian community that you believe were Muslim?
Ahl Injeel.
And historically,
I can speculate.
Was James one of them?
Yeah, I would say so.
Okay.
I would say so. That's why James, remember, even historians say, and New Testament scholarship says, when you read the New Testament, you're listening to a one-way conversation.
Right.
You're listening to a one-way phone call. You're getting everything about James and Peter and Stephen and this. You're getting it all from this one individual.
Right, no problem.
And he's superimposing his understanding of history, by the way, that he wasn't present for, upon all the teachings of the New Testament.
But the New Testament is written by different authors, right? Is that correct? Is the New Testament written by different authors?
Say again?
Is the New Testament written by different authors?
I would say so, yeah.
Right.
Most definitely.
How many authors of the Quran? How many reciters of the Quran?
Many reciters.
No, as in, who revealed the Quran?
Who revealed it? Allah revealed it.
But via who? Who was the conduit?
Prophet Sallallahu.
So you've just said to me that the problem with the New Testament or the Gospels was that it's revealed by one person, or Paul's Testament.
I don't remember saying that.
You mentioned one person shaping it.
Okay, yeah.
Shaping it to his will.
Yeah.
But then you have no, and that's why I asked you, how many authors of the Gospel?
Yeah.
blah blah blah. You confirm more than one, but then you have no problem because remember, that's why I kept appealing to
I know you got. Yeah, I know what you do.
Allah gave you logic. That you have no problem that one person who was a conduit for Allah. And that's okay. Even though let me just even though when we investigate some of the claims that where's the original Injil or the Torah, we find these are lost to history. But yet you don't.
Understandably so.
No problem. But you don't see the irony in the claim that one person who's making things up, we find historical things that seem to align with that version of history, whether it's through Tacitus, Josephus, archaeological evidence and so forth. When we go to the claims of the supreme being called Allah, even though we for some reason got the Injil via Greek, even though it was revealed in Aramaic, even though we have the original Torah that's been corrupted or gone missing, I don't even
remember the reason why it's called Injil is to make sure that the Christians who Sallallahu is preaching to, they understand that your text is corrupted, you don't have the real thing. But just so you understand what we're talking about, we're going to call it Injil instead of Bathalalala, whatever you
But
call
wouldn't they have known?
They wouldn't have known because they come. Remember, the Christians in Najran, they come from your tradition.
But
the false tradition.
But you said the Jews were expelled from Jerusalem, right?
Yes.
So the Christians would have been the same.
No.
So where did the Christians come from?
Christians, who were very minute.
Yeah,
sorry, I don't want to even use the word Christian. Our Ahl Injil.
Right. Would have originated in Jerusalem.
But they left because of the destruction.
So the Injil, was it a document?
The Injil, I mean, remember, things on papyrus back then are rarity.
Would it have been written in
oral tradition?
No, it might have been oral.
Oral tradition, yeah. And that's why I said to Warwick bin Nawfal, Allah allowed him to write what he remembered.
So the people of the book, which were the Christians, didn't have a book.
Who that?
The people of the book, who were including the Christians.
They might have had something, but it's very corrupted.
But I'm saying, if they
That's
called
why
people,
Allah calls it Injil
but I'm
as
saying,
a catch-all.
I'm saying the people of the book who would include the Christians, they wouldn't have had a book. I'm not saying whether it's corrupted. I'm saying from the origin, would they have to be called the people of the book? Would they have had to have had the book? Is what I'm trying to understand.
Remember, there's a difference of opinion about this.
Right.
When we say kitab, even the Quran wasn't a book.
Right.
Kitab for us, it's a very nuanced word.
Okay.
Right. It can also be an oral tradition.
Okay.
Right. It can also be written down.
Right.
But it won't be written down in a book as we have it today, like a codex.
No problem. Right. It can be. Yeah.
It's revelation.
Okay.
I remember back then the memory was a lot stronger, but people put more emphasis on the memory.
Right.
It was all about it's all about oral tradition. So even you believe in oral tradition.
I'm not saying there's any, but I'm saying oral tradition would have been accompanied with text as well.
Sure, but it didn't help that it was destroyed by the Romans in 70 AD.
But it somehow managed to survive in Arabia.
Some of it. And I believe the important bit did survive. The one that talks about Ahmed, the Prophet ﷺ. That bit survived.
But now we don't have it anymore.
No, because remember, we didn't have parchments during that time. Even for our Quran, why is it we don't have a codex at the exact time of Prophet ﷺ? We only have it as we go out. So we get the papyrus, we get the parchments, and we can write, just like you were able to write the New Testament. That's why you would say the same thing. You would say, just because we don't have manuscripts in the 1st, 2nd, 3rd century, doesn't mean the book didn't exist. It's just that it wasn't able to be preserved until a bit later.
I would say it disappearing and re-emerging somewhere and then
I know you would say
again.
That. I know you would say that.
What I'm saying, I'm looking at it from an objective historical
I was going to respond to something else that you said as well. Paul.
Right.
Just going back to Paul quickly, right?
Yeah. And if you have to go, we can continue next time.
This is my last thing.
Right.
Paul, he's not operating in Jerusalem. His main area of operation is in a place where there's a milieu of pagan, Stoic philosophy, all sorts. One of his churches is in what's that place in Turkey? Where is it? There's a place. He set up a place very close to Greece and Turkey. You got Corinth. You got all these places. He's preaching to those people. And by the way, the reason why I don't trust Paul, this is what I'm to respond to. The reason why I don't trust Paul, because you said, well, it's just one source, just like Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Good argument. But the problem is this. Paul has proven to me he can't be trusted. Why? Because he is constantly misquoting the Old Testament. Constantly. And he's doing it very purposefully. I'll give you one example, and I want you to come back and respond to this next time I'm here. All right? The example I'm going to give to you is one in Psalms. No.
Which one?
Even the scriptures that we talked about earlier. Psalms. In Psalms, it says, sacrifice I do not desire. God speaking. Sacrifice I do not, animal sacrifice I do not desire. My ears are open to you. Open to your what? Repentance. Right? God wants you to confess your sins to him, to be forgiven. Okay. How does Paul translate that? Paul says, I believe it's in Hebrews. Paul says, animal sacrifice I did not desire. A body I have prepared for you. When I see something like that, he's very purposeful. He's doing this to try and make Jesus fit with his narrative. He knows no one can fact check him. He's preaching to the Gentiles who have no access to even a Greek Tanakh. You know?
So just going to your point, for example, when you made the three about the 3 days.
Yes. Oh, the other one in Corinthians.
So if Ahmed can go missing, how do you know that didn't go missing? Why did you? You see, I want you to be consistent. Yeah, no. I want you to be consistent. This is why.
Taking a bit of the psalm out and placing something else.
No, but you said the 3 days, so I'm saying.
I see what you're.
Right.
Sorry.
Right.
I was thinking about the other argument.
Right.
Okay. Right.
So I'm saying
that's an interesting point.
Well, I'm saying. If you're being consistent, then you can utilize that.
Sure.
Whilst I don't agree with that, but I'm just saying for your own validity or accepting.
Well, remember, what would I boil it down to?
And again, with your Peter argument, we can say that went missing as well then. You're laughing. No, that's that same argument you've given me.
I love speaking to you, man. You know, I haven't spoken to you in like 2-3 years.
Okay.
2-3 years. So I don't know when we're going to see each other next.
No worries,
but maybe one day.
All right, cool. I'll be back soon.
Together one day.
Definitely.
I appreciate the airtime. The airtime, yeah?
No worries.
That's okay.
Yeah, good morning.
Yeah.
Happy Easter Sunday.
Happy Easter.
Sunday.
The tomb was empty and Christ is risen. So I just want people to see the cognitive dissonance displayed by Obi. The criteria he was using for Islam, is much more weaker than the criteria that he was using for Christianity. That's why when I was asking, how did Waraka bin Nawfal know that Jibreel was apparently an angel? What text was he referring to? He had to appeal to mystery. Again, when I asked him for evidence of the Arabs referring to themselves as Ishmaelites or their own history about Abraham, he had to appeal to mystery and say, well, they circumcised themselves, so therefore that's evidence they were Ishmaelites. That's not evidence of anything. And what I was trying to point out is that with Christianity we have historical evidence that backs up the claims, but with Islam, the Torah's gone missing, the Injeel's gone missing, everything's gone missing. What is the criteria to understand that Muhammad was a prophet? He had to refer to Muhammad himself. That's circular reasoning. But you should be able to refer to the previous text to validate why someone is a prophet, because then that means that it's from God. The person making a claim and verifying themselves is just a person making a claim and verifying themselves. So this is what Obi exposed for his weak argumentation and lack of consistency in argumentation. So on that note, Paperboy out.